everyone.
Thank you for joining us again today. Again, Commissioner Casey Kula. We have with us today Mayor Witowski of Dayton, Mayor Rick Rogers of Newburgh. We've got Al Bannon from Representative Bonamici's office. We've got Jules Martinez Plancarte, a city councilor for Newburgh. We have Wendy Valise, who's the local government relations person for Portland General Electric. We have Jeff Towery, the city manager for the city of McMinnville. We have Mayor Scott Hill from the city of McMinnville. And I think that we have Commissioner Rick Olson as well on the line somewhere in there, but we'll see. And today for our community leaders update, what I'd like to do is, maybe he needs to mute himself. What I'd like to do is direct some specific questions to people so we can find out more about what's happening in the community. So I'm gonna go with, since Representative Bonamici's field rep for the area, Al Bannon, is with us, and we have a major bill at the federal level. Al, can you fill us in as best you can about what sounds like a giant bill?
Yes, I will do my best. I'm going to run through the main points, and then if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to field those. It may be that I don't have the answers to them right away, but I will write them down, talk to our ledge team, and we can answer those as soon as we get more information. It is a historic bill, so I'm just going to run through the big points. So the bill provides a direct cash payment of up to $1,200 for individuals making up to $75,000 and at least $2,400 for families making up to $150,000. We think that this is a great start, but the Congresswoman is going to continue to call on Congress to extend this assistance if the pandemic continues as is expected. And then unemployment insurance claims in Oregon last week, there were more than 76,500 people applying for new benefits. So the bill passed today will expand those UI insurance claims to part-time, self-employed, and gig economy workers, as well as bolstering the benefit by an additional $600 per week. And incentives for there are also incentives for states to eliminate waiting periods for enrollment of unemployment insurance, and an additional 13 weeks of federal funded unemployment benefits are included. There's also rent assistance and additional funding for SNAP. And then, sorry, did somebody have a question? Maybe there was just a little bit of feedback. And then in addition to providing cash payments and enhanced unemployment insurance benefits, the bill greatly increases wraparound services that families across the country need, and especially here in Oregon. It includes an increase in low-income home energy assistance program funding to help people heat and cool their homes, a moratorium on many evictions and foreclosures, more than $30 billion to help school districts and higher education institutions, and a 6-month pause on payment and internet accrual of federal student loans. Additionally, many small business owners have had to close because of the pandemic, and this legislation provides $377 billion for small businesses, including $350 billion in loans for small businesses and nonprofits to use to cover their expenses. The most important thing to highlight here is that these loans may be forgiven if the proceeds are used to retain employees and keep the businesses open. And Congressman Bonamici also advocated on behalf of the arts and humanities community to make sure that relief for nonprofits were included in this bill. There's a lot more to this, and we're still digging our way through it, but we will continue to keep you all updated as we move forward. I also want to say there is $3.5 billion for childcare services for emergency and frontline workers. And a bunch more. If anybody has specific questions, I can field those. I do want to touch, Casey, if I can just have one more minute on personal protective equipment. I know that this is something that is a major issue in Oregon, and especially in our rural communities. We've been receiving calls from businesses across the region who are eager to help and have the facilities, equipment, and workforce to shift production and support the PPE supply chain. But they're lacking clarity from the federal government on the Communications production called Medical Manufacturers Interested in Producing PPE During the Pandemic. We don't have more information on that yet, but I do want to just elevate that this is something that our office and all of the Oregon delegation is working on.
Okay, thank you very much. For the folks who are here, do you have any questions for Al?
Just a quick question, because seems like my neighbors are asking because they heard about the package. How quickly do we think those payments are going to reach people's mailboxes?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're still getting information on that. I have heard April 7th is what their goal is. I don't know I think for some cases it's going to be more complicated than for those who have like filed their taxes online and electronically and they have access to direct deposit. But April 7th is the date that I am hearing flying around as the goal date. I will definitely keep you all updated as that moves forward.
Okay.
Al, one other question. This is Rick from Newburgh. Anyway, we, as I mentioned earlier, we're contemplating doing an economic sort of emergency fund for the businesses in town or some of the businesses in town. And could we find out if that kind of a program might be something that's reimbursable by the feds, given this rollout? That'd be good to know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I will look into that, Mayor Rogers.
Thank you so much.
And I have one question as well. So I'm wondering in terms of when the families will receive this cash payment, are families with that have like mixed status, like children who are citizens, will they be receiving even if their parents don't because they're unauthorized workers? So what does that look like?
That is a great question. Let me ask my ledge team about that and I will get back to you.
Thank you.
Councilor, that was also a question that I have pending in with the senator's offices too. So
as you all continue to hear questions from folks in the county, just forward them along to me, and if I don't know it right away, we'll all put out our feelers and try to get you answers as soon as we can.
And Al's email address is on the emails that we've sent around. I've been bad about blind CCing everybody. So any other questions for Al as the representative Bonamici's staff member in the Valley? All right. Thank you very much, Al. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Mayor Rogers, can you tell us how are people in the city of Newburgh observing the stay-at-home, save lives mandate? And then the second question would be, are you thinking about doing any kind of immediate business relief grants?
Right. All right, Commissioner Kula and Beth, thank you so much for organizing this. I think as far as we can tell, the good folks in Newburgh are staying home, staying healthy, and consequently saving lives. So for that, I'm very encouraged. And as is the character with Newburgh, we're hearing a lot of people, there's a lot of pent-up volunteerism, I think, that people would like to get involved. They are waiting to hear how. So that, again, is very encouraging. So for that, we are thankful. The only caution is that I believe that we're still looking at mid-April to late April for the peak of this. So we all are going to get very tired of being home probably before this is over. So again, I'll just encourage all the good folks in Newburgh and all of the communities in Yamhill County, keep up the good work, right? And then, but we've got a ways to go. Now, and then on the economic relief, we are looking into it. I know some communities around us have done the same, Sherwood, Hillsborough, Beaverton, etc. We are looking into it, and that's the question for Senator Bonamici or Representative Bonamici's office and on this new bill. But we would, because, as we all know, the businesses are suffering greatly, and all that we can do to keep them going and their workers employed is really, really important. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Rogers. Councilor Martinez-Placante, do you have any suggestions for the rest of the community leaders here on how to reach marginalized communities better, and what things are they missing right now?
So one thing that we are doing right now with the organization of Unidos is that we've been reaching out to the churches, so like the community leaders in the churches, and I actually wrote a script for them so that it gives out information about resources, other information about what the cities are doing for the coronavirus and what links are reliable. So one big issue that we've seen is that the information there is either outdated or just not accurate and up to date. And so we're making sure that the families are receiving this information. And although like Facebook and the pages online are great, I think the best way to communicate with the Latinx community in the county is really through like personal phone calls. And I've been uh, doing a lot of those phone calls. I did some last week, and I talked to folks from Dayton, McMinnville, and also from Newburgh. So a lot of the issues I would say are very similar throughout the different cities. And so one of the big, I guess, concerns that I had was the question that I asked to Al Bannon was about the mixed status families. So a lot of these families are concerned if they're going to get any support. And so right now what they're seeing is the support that's available is for the majority of people who are authorized workers who are either green card or citizen recipients or citizens here in the United States. So I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting about this population who's here in our county, who's present and whose kids attend our schools. And so I would just recommend for people to continue pushing that information in Spanish and just making sure that the Spanish is also accessible to the folks who are reading it. So poor translation is not adequate for the community. And also when the language is too complex, it just makes it really hard for folks to understand what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for those suggestions. It's very helpful to, and thank you for taking the lead in that area. Does anybody have any questions for the counselor?
The only question, counselor, is would you suggest, as people are getting communication out, and I appreciated your comment on the including communication in Spanish, would you suggest Spanish language radio stations as a way to, because I know they're doing a lot of public service announcements right now, would you suggest that to your peers and community leaders as another way to reach Spanish language residents?
Yeah, I think that would be a really good way, especially I think a lot of the folks, for example, are farm workers or working in construction. They're usually the ones that listen to the radio, and they're usually the ones that are, are not able to get home for the news, the like TV news and such. So I think that would be a really good source. I know that through the Latino Advocacy Coalition here in the county, we've been talking to someone, I believe, from the library to see if we can get hopefully some like announcements out there.
That sounds great. Thank you for the question. Any other questions for the counselor? Okay. Wendy, what is PGE working on that you really want us to know about? And how can the other community leaders here help PGE as our electrical utility provider for much of the county?
Yes, I'm sorry I missed the first part. I was having technical difficulties. I was like, oh.
What would you like the community leaders here to know about what PG is doing, and also community members? And then how can we help you in getting that message out, and how can we help you?
Right. I think right now there's a few things that we're doing. One, if you haven't heard already, clearly we're in line with many of your decisions to freeze all disconnects. So there's no disconnection of service right now. Clearly people really need their power for a variety of reasons. And what we are doing is those that are, the mail notices will still continue to go out, and we're encouraging people just to call us and work it out with us. So that's one thing, and that's kind of immediate. The second piece, and you may have heard a piece of it earlier with Chair Kula, is PGE is contributing $1 million for COVID-19 relief, and that includes to educational programs as well as food banks. And we understand, thanks to Chair Kula, we understand that we're making a substantial contribution to the Oregon Food Bank, and we understand that YCAP's Food Bank is a part of that network. However, it sounds like it is taking them some time to get supplies out to Yamhill County. So we are right now working behind the scenes to make a direct contribution, because it sounds like, based on the communication this morning, there's an immediate need for obvious reasons. But we are, again, making that. The other piece, and we appreciate all of our federal delegation, is we have been advocating for emergency energy assistance, and I'm sure Al's team is well aware of our federal folks in supporting that work wherever we can. And then at the state, we're also advocating as well for additional energy assistance and low-income assistance for our customers. And then the other piece that many of you may have heard about is we are right now more than ever, electricity, because people are staying at home, is become if it wasn't before, even more so now, a critical service. And so we're making sure that we are maintaining our service to all of the residents. And we've worked with several local governments to get these COVID-19 permits. A big thank you to Newburgh, who signed the permit pretty much immediately. So this is just a temporary permit, right-of-way permit for us to maintain. Yamhill County as well signed the permit. So this is just during a temporary period of time. It makes it more efficient for us to continue the everyday work for those folks who are out in the front lines right now, making sure that people have their power and that work continues on that front.
Yeah. Any other questions for Wendy and PGE? Well, thank you very much, Wendy, for just being accessible all the time and allowing us to just check in with you. It's really nice to know that with a company that seems as large as PGE, that I know that there's somebody I can talk to. Yeah. Mayor Wojtowski, can you tell us about what's happening in your community around your community like give back program, I think is what you call it, and also how are people in your community observing the stay-at-home rules?
I sure can. You'll have to excuse the background music. We've got a barnyard song happening to distract the toddler. So
nice.
Be gracious maybe with the goat and cow sounds while she tries to count them. Yeah, our give back program's already been really, really positive, I think. Our community was really excited about it. The immediate question when it was deployed was, okay, and now how do I donate my credit? Which is not the reaction I was expecting, so that's great. What we're offering to residents is $15 off their city utility bill, which is for water and sewer, for each $25 they spend at a downtown business, up to 3 of those credits per month, so it can cut their utility bill in about half. Our business owners were really excited about it. They have been outstanding. I mean, our business community is outstanding. They're excited to serve. They're excited to deliver. They've just been really going above and beyond to reach people who are outside of Dayton if they just want some of their food or drink and everything. So it was really nice, I think, for them to feel like something that they were doing was going to benefit the residents as well. And the really good thing for the city is it's both encouraging that business activity and that economic activity, but without a big impact on the city budget, because our residents, of course, are spending that money downtown, and all we're doing is making a pretty small credit. We have had, I think, 4 or 5 receipts already come back within the first 24 hours of the program, and I think at least one of them was a donated credit. So we did say, we don't have the infrastructure set up at this point to really evaluate need and apply those credits. But what we did say was, if you have somebody and that it would benefit them, you can donate that credit to either a neighbor who might be in need or even back to that business to make sure that they can continue to serve food. Yeah, hold on a second. And that's really good too. It lets people exercise their own goodwill. That's been something I've been really impressed with. I had, another teacher at the high school, a colleague who did my grocery run for me yesterday, did a porch drop. My kids lost our TV remote like a full week ago, which sounds like a really little thing, but when you can't leave the house, oh my gosh, we need Disney On Demand with these 3 kids. So, and I finally posted on Facebook about it. And this morning, a resident whose husband works for Comcast dropped off a new remote on my porch. And I think people really are looking for things like that. And that's been really impressive. It's not just that they're willing to do things when they're asked, they are actively looking for ways that they can help. We had a community member who is a really short-term resident who's, living in a long-term residence basement, who came to town, didn't know anybody. They had a baby last week. They couldn't see their family, couldn't have anybody. They had nothing ready. And a restaurant owner found out about it and had a whole drive. So they had food delivered for the family. They had diapers delivered for the family, clothing, bottles, everything that they would need. And the couple was actually just confused why people were willing to help. And it's just community spirit. And we're going to need to get back to some barnyard songs here pretty quick, but I think that's been really good. So we have that give back for the utility rate rebate, and it helps both the businesses and the residents. I love that. And our community's been really good about the stay-at-home order. We didn't close our parks until the governor ordered playground equipment to be unused or to remain unused. And I think that was kind of a bummer for some of our families, but I have not seen anybody on equipment since it was ordered closed. And I think even where people, maybe obviously none of us really probably like these orders, maybe there's some introverts who are secretly celebrating, but most of us probably don't love these orders, but they've still been really good at observing them. And I've really appreciated, the support and compliance I've seen in the community.
Great. Thank you very much. I don't want to jump in, but I am going to, and I hope you don't mind. I just got this announcement from Director Manfrin at HHS, and I'm just going to read it to you because it's important right now. It says, Yamhill County is sad to announce a death related to COVID-19. The individual was a 93-year-old man with significant chronic health conditions. And this is a quote. The Yamhill County Board of Commissioners is saddened to report the death of a community member from COVID-19. Commissioners Casey Kula, Mary Starrett, and Rick Olson express their deepest and most sincere sympathies to the individual's family and loved ones. Unquote. Yamhill County Public Health will continue the vigilant work to reduce the spread of COVID-19, and we continue to urge the community to follow the guidance of the Oregon Health Authority. Dr. Bill Koenig, who is our medical director, says, to protect the most vulnerable, our community should heed the direction by public health officials to practice social distancing, wash your hands frequently for 20 seconds, avoid touching your face, and stay home if you are sick. Many people with COVID-19 have mild symptoms. If you are feeling sick with mild symptoms and do not need to seek medical care, stay home while you recover. If you are sick and plan to seek care, please call before going in so arrangements can be made to prevent exposing others. And I'm sorry to bring that in, but this is a really important thing for us to be thinking of the folks in these families right now. So thank you for sharing that with me. I just got it and I wanted to share it with all your community members.
Hey, Casey, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for all you're doing, right? And thank you for all of you are doing. Please all stay healthy. I got to sign off and get on another call. But again, everybody stay healthy, and we'll chat again soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Rogers. And really, thank you for all of you who are here to keep everybody safe in our community.
Casey, if I may, I have
Yes.
the most recent Oregon Health Agency's report from this morning at 9 o'clock. And I'll just update people.
Please do.
Information you've given. As of 9:30 this morning, we in the state of Oregon have 414 positive, 8,510 negative, for a total of close to 9,000 tests. again, we had 12 deaths, and we'll add one more to that. In Yamhill County, that is, in my calculations, about 4.6% of those that have been tested are positive. Okay, in Yamhill County, what I had as of this morning, we had 261 tests that have been calculated, 11 that have the virus, and as of this morning, no deaths, but we would add one to that. Yamhill County, over the last 2 days, we're sitting at 4.2 from where we had been down in the 3.5 area. So a little more incidents. Again, all deaths have been from individuals 60 and above, with the largest grouping being 70 to 79. Here's another, I think, good statistic. Of the 414 individuals that have positive tests, 102 of those have been hospitalized. The remainder of those, that's 25%, the remainder are not hospitalized. Here's another statistic that they have just started to report to us. Available ICU beds, 360 in the state. Non-ICU beds, 2,294. We have 715 ventilators available. And so that's the most recent information, and I thought I might share, as you gave that information, that again, from my perspective, it looks like we are using stay-at-home very effectively in our community. I'll just move right into McMinnville, if that's okay.
Please do.
Our website, we're keeping up to date, and we are putting as much information in Spanish as we can. A lot of the information that we're getting is unavailable in the Spanish for us, but we're summarizing in Spanish. Yesterday we had the McMinnville Council, Leadership Council, which is the CEOs of our major industry. We had the schools, colleges, we had nonprofits, the chambers, and MEDP, and we had government on, and we meet on a monthly basis, but we are now going to be meeting weekly, and we took an hour and 15 minutes. Jeff Towery ran that, and we were able to share and get a real good sense in this community what the concerns are. Again, I would suggest that other communities try to put that together. It's a good way of getting pertinent and good information. This morning we had a special session of McMinnville Water and Light to do a few things. We had a report on COVID-19, what we're doing at Water and Light. We've closed our facilities, but we're still taking payments. We are answering all service calls. Any you call, we will be there. A couple of things that we changed this morning. We have a program called Customers Helping Customers that we've had for many, many years. And that's where individuals in the community can donate money, and we will match that. And this morning we moved that matching 3 to 1. So for every dollar that comes in, we will match that up to 3 times, for a total for this year of $40,000, along with what's coming in. We're going to make a reach out for one-time help, thinking that a lot more money is going to be coming from that perspective. Our service teams have been put down to 2, so that if we have contamination, we don't lose our total service staffs. We're doing that up at our filtration, up in the coastal range. So we're doing those types of things. Again, I'll tell you, just sitting in my home right now, with Old Sheridan Road and some of the changes that are happening there, Goucher, which runs right by my home, is a thoroughfare, and I've not seen a car go by I've seen 3 cars since we've started. So I think we're doing a really good job of staying home. I did see a group of 6 on bikes, but they were 6 feet apart from one another as they rode down the road about 10 minutes ago. I think McMinnville, the city, we have closed all of our buildings, but we are still providing service. We've got, if Jeff's available, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 working from home with their equipment, and the cybersecurity, as I've said, is really important. We talked about that at McMinnville Water and Light at the city. So those are the overarching types of things that we're doing.
Our public works crews, that sort of thing, who are not able to work from home but are wearing PPE practice and social distancing. We've got another group of employees who are able to work in our buildings and practice social distancing, library, community center, that sort of thing. Even though those buildings are closed to the public, we have work to do. A couple of things that I would add. The City Council had their first virtual City Council meeting this week. We had a big screen up in the council chambers. We had only a couple of people in the building. Metro Community Media, or McMinnville Community Media, videotaped that and broadcast that out. You can watch the meeting on YouTube. It went pretty well from a technology standpoint. We're still going to be working on how to effectively engage the public in those virtual meetings, but at least for the time being, we'll continue to have those virtual meetings for our council. We've also been limiting task forces and meetings to things that are required or urgent in nature, like most other jurisdictions have done. I guess my message for folks is to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, people. I do think that the opportunity will come where we're talking more about how to support people in recovery. We'll continue to work with local partners on a variety of projects. We're working with the school district and other partners to help provide some needed daycare service in the community. We're having conversations with Yamhill County, with YCAP, and with other partners about how to better shelter people without homes in our community. And we're having active conversations with our local business partners about what we can do to support business in a way that really has a meaningful impact on those businesses. Thank you, Commissioner Kula.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I'm going to call for questions for Jeff about things that you're working on, but I just want to acknowledge that I really appreciate you engaging in the conversation and being open to it about housing and keeping safe spaces for the homeless population. So thank you for that. So did you have a land use hearing? This is a kind of a wonky question, but did you actually have a land use hearing also by remote?
We didn't have a hearing.
Okay.
We have a quasi-judicial matter before the council related to the proposal for a subdivision on Baker Creek Road North. The council had closed the hearing and closed the record at a previous council meeting, so the council did take action on that land use application, but there was no record to review and no hearing to manage.
Okay, that's good to know. I saw the DLCD, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, said no, that we can't change the 120 and the 150 day rules. At some point we may need to have that conversation about what it looks like to have a virtual meeting. So
yeah, we don't have another one that's in the queue right now that would require a public hearing, but that's sort of the next step for us in terms of how we manage those meetings, is to really effectively engage the public in these conversations, whether it's a hearing that's required or whether there's just some benefit in hearing from folks who are attending a meeting either on the phone or using this kind of a tool.
Right. Are there any other questions from community leaders here for Jeff Towery? Okay, thank you very much for adding to the conversation. And I want to acknowledge Shannon Buckmaster from the Chehalis Valley Chamber has joined us. So thank you for joining us. But before I ask you any questions, I'm going to see if it works to engage Commissioner Olson, who is with us. Commissioner Olson, do you have anything that you would love to share with the community and with the leaders who are on the line?
So he texted me, Casey, and said he can hear everything and he can see everything, but he's not able to respond back. He's promised to update his technology for next week.
Okay, sounds good. And we'll go to Shannon Buckmaster before she has to go to another call. What things is the Chehalis Valley working on right now that you really want to get information out to the public in the 2 minutes you have.
Well, the good news this morning, our chamber hosted a Q&A session with our members and non-members alike, our local business community, where we explained both the EIDL package through SBA and the upcoming CARE package that we're hoping goes through the House today and gets the executive order approved from the president. So if that all happens, we should start to see the resources and applications open up sometime early to mid next week. April 6th is, a very hopeful tentative date for actually several different funding opportunities to come into our business community. I did record that conference through Zoom, and it should be up on our website by the end of the business day as a blog post, which we'll also share to social media. So it was about 45 minutes where I went through the basic packages questions as well. And I found that to be very helpful. I will continue doing those services for our community. And again, we've lifted the restriction. We're simply helping businesses whether or not they're a member of our chamber. So I'm happy to support that. Joya at the McMinnville Chamber and I are working together very closely, talking sometimes several times a day, as well as with Abisha Stone at SEDCOR. So in Yamhill County, you actually have a really strong team that is doggedly chasing economic recovery options for our businesses. We're supporting the city of Newburgh in evaluating what funds they may be able to open up for economic recovery or emergency response. I guess at this point, knowing that a lot of it has come out through the federal level and knowing that I have the video to back up some of the most pertinent news, I would just wonder what questions that you have as a community for me before I hop into the next conference that started 3 minutes ago.
Totally. Well, one thing I wonder is, Al Bannon, as a representative of Bonamici's office, do you have anything that you really want to communicate to Shannon Buckmaster? I mean, to throw it out there.
Hi, Shannon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to see you, Al.
Good. I don't have any current information. Shannon and I have been in touch quite a bit over the last couple of days. Shannon, do you have any specific questions for me?
Actually, one question that did come up, I heard that the city of Hillsborough closed their SBA application process because it was overwhelmed. And then one of the business members on the call that I hosted this morning had mentioned or had shared that his SBA application online was canceled and that he was converted to a paper application process only. So now he's having to restart his application on the paper form and then he'll have to mail it in. So is what we're hearing simply that the infrastructure for the SBA has been overwhelmed by capacsome? Is that?
Yeah, I've heard that as well. No, I've heard that there is some overwhelm. Just the bandwidth is being overwhelmed. I'll look into that and make sure. I can't imagine that it would be anything other than that. I've heard that calling is a great way to access someone better than online, and I think in like a lot of these offices right now, I understand that applications have to be submitted. But let me ping one of my contacts and I'll get back to you on that, Shannon.
Thank you. And then the other two components, of course, moving forward, we still have a gap in services for ag workers because they're not included in any of the SBA processes. So just to continue to be mindful of that. And then I'm also going to advocate for my industry here and say it's discouraging and intimidating to think that chambers have become the front line for economic response for our businesses, and C6s are not included in any of the emergency funding releases because of the political advocacy component. So as quickly as we could find a solution to support these community partners who are operating under a nonprofit C6 status, 501c6, as soon as we could look at, some sort of economic assistance, because we do operate like a business. We run just like any other business. We have staff, we have overhead, and now we have a critical function in our communities. If I were to look at our chamber, I know our chamber is selling this year, but for 2021, when our businesses have not fully financially recovered, what position does that put our chamber, other organizations like SEDCOR? What is the disadvantage after we've stepped up to serve our community so well? So I would continue to advocate for some sort of financial relief for C6s at the federal level or the state level.
Shannon. I'll pass that along to the Congresswoman.
Thank you.
And I can say on agriculture, we are aware of that, and the Congresswoman is hopeful that we can get more funding for agriculture in the fourth stimulus package when that happens. There has been some allocated in the first two, but we are aware that there needs to be more.
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for sharing all that with us. And thank you for advocating for your industry and for your community there. The one thing that I may want to add to that is that Abhi Stone, our Sedcor County Economic Development Contractor, working with the chambers and our own staff at the county, presented a proposal to us this week that we've approved in essentially draft form. We don't have a dollar figure associated with it yet. That's an immediate need business grant program. And that one is not really targeted at agricultural operations, but a secondary component, which is a medium term, will be low interest loans to businesses, and agricultural enterprises will be eligible for those. And we hope to have the first component of it, which is a cap of $2,500 grants available by the 6th, I think, of April. So for a county, that's lightning speed.
And Abhi did share a draft of that proposal with both me and with Joya at the McMinnville Chamber. So we've seen that, but we're just not sharing it because it's not official.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I got a note from Commissioner Olson. He wants to let you know that he's tracking all legislation at the federal, state, and local level for any issue that deals with economic development and recovery. So if anyone needs handouts or documents, they can email him at his county email address. So thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Any last questions that you really want me to ask so that your community knows what's happening? All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks to Mayor Wojtowski for keeping us all organized, and thank you to McMinnville Community Media for airing this later. I'm gonna sign off. We'll do 1, 2, 3, bye.